Doug resigns suddenly as chairman of the Social Security Board. You'll hear about the interview that forced him to step down. And the Easter weekend was rough for COVID-19. 9 new cases and the second sad death. We'll have everything you need to know about what happened and what needs to happen. And the so-called idiot police criminally charged for coercing 2 people into having sex on camera. Also throwing away milk in bulk and no storage for chicken. COVID-19 is creating a scary food surplus. We'll tell you all about it and what it means for Belize's food supply and security. Plus, Belize is set to come into a surplus of COVID testing kits. We'll tell you how Cayman is helping. Well, we've got details of these and other stories in our newscast for tonight, Tuesday, April 14th, 2020. Good evening. With your news, I'm Indira Craig.
Digi, your national telecom, would like to assure all Belizeans that we will continue to keep you connected during this challenging time, providing you with high-quality services that you depend upon each day. The resilience and the reliability of both our staff and our networks will ensure that you are able to keep working, learning, and most importantly, communicating with your loved ones at home and abroad. This is what matters most at this time.
Boosting Diginet speeds for free to over 20,000 customers and pledging over $7 million to the COVID-19 Relief Fund by way of $1 million in cash and $6 million in value to our customers is just one of our ways of showing we are here for Belize.
You can depend on Digi. Together, we will get through this challenging time and emerge even stronger. Stay safe, Belize.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor Department, takes this opportunity to remind insured persons of the requirements for compensation when on sick leave. Any employee who has worked with an employer for at least 2 months is entitled to 16 working days of sick leave with full pay every year. This is how it works. Upon approval of a sickness or injury benefit claim by SSB, 80% of the employee's weekly insurable earnings is paid as a Social Security benefit, and the difference in the employee's salary is paid by the employer. This is to ensure that the employee does not suffer any loss of wages when ill. After 16 days, compensation for sick leave is paid as a Social Security benefit only. Some conditions apply. This message is brought to you by the Social Security Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
We continue to serve you. We continue to keep the lights on. We continue to care. We will always be right here for you.
Ask any landscape professional who they depend on for professional grade power tools, and the answer is always the same. Echo. Ask any dealer who offers the most powerful, most durable, and most reliable equipment in the business, and they'll tell you, Echo. Then ask yourself, doesn't your lawn and garden deserve the professional's choice? Echo. The best outdoor power equipment you can buy.
Digi, your national telecom, would like to assure all Belizeans that we will continue to keep you connected during this challenging time, providing you with high-quality services that you depend upon each day. The resilience and the reliability of both our staff and our networks will ensure that you are able to keep working, learning, and most importantly, communicating with your loved ones at home and abroad. This is what matters most at this time.
Boosting Diginet speeds for free to over 20,000 customers and pledging over $7 million to the COVID-19 Relief Fund by way of $1 million in cash and $6 million in value to our customers is just one of our ways of showing we are here for Belize.
You can depend on Digi. Together, we will get through this challenging time and emerge even stronger. Stay safe, Belize.
I am Ronald, lineman lead hand at BL. We are an essential service and we are doing everything we can to make sure that we keep the lights on for our customers.
I work outdoors and my job is to provide safe and reliable power.
Our teams continue to serve communities across Belize.
At NextGen, we work for you. Because despite you not being able to be together, we can keep you connected, united, talking to each other, seeing each other, communicating with each other. Stay connected with NextGen.
NextGen, powered by Central TV and Internet.
Chairman of the Social Security Board, Doug Singh, has abruptly resigned as Chairman of the Social Security Board, the Elections and Boundaries Commission, and as a Director of BTL. It happened just a few minutes ago in a letter to the Prime Minister. In it, he writes, quote, "I will not allow the greater purpose of your national efforts in this crisis to be undermined by any personal expressions made by me," end quote. And here's what he's talking about. Singh granted journalist for Belize Breaking News Aaron Humes an interview earlier today about the COVID-19 unemployment relief program. The 19-minute interview was riddled with expletives and characterized many unemployed who were applying for relief as entitled and undeserving freeloaders. Singh was recorded without his consent and has requested that the interview not air on the news, which is legally within his right. In it, he seems to be giving Humes background, but it clearly demonstrates strong biases and gross characterizations of persons in need who have been told by the government to apply. He said of them in Krill, and we're translating, quote, "Yeah, they're desperate, but it's not like they were earning any money, so a lot of them that hugging weren't entitled to anything," end quote. Hume said he had not intended for the interview to get out, but it seems he sent it to his newsroom and someone there sent it out. The remarks are so unforgivable that Singh had no options and wasted no time. He resigned within an hour of it going viral. But the damage has been done, and government now has a lot of making up to do with this program that has received 62,706 applications and has processed 7,247 applications for payment. Approximately 7,500 additional applications are currently being processed and should be ready for approval in stages between this afternoon and tomorrow morning. Patient number 10. When we left you on Friday, we were up to patient number 9 with 1 death. Tonight, there are twice that many patients, 18, and 2 have died. Like we said, a very rough, sad, and panic-induced weekend for Belize. Patient number 10, 65-year-old Conrad Everett, died at the KHMH in the early morning hours of Good Friday. And after his death, events moved quickly. This morning, Cherise Halsall set out to recap the new cases and new clusters identified over the strangest Easter weekend in memory.
The patient, 63-year-old Conrad Everett, was hospitalized here at the private Belize Healthcare Partners on March 27th.
So the patient was initially admitted on the 27th of March at Belize Healthcare Partners Limited. He had an initial diagnosis of community-acquired pneumonia, and he was there till March 30th, which is when we understand he self-discharged himself from the institution, returned on March 31st with respiratory distress. He was intubated on March 31st at Healthcare Partners Limited. When he was referred to Karl Huchner on the 7th, he had already been 7 days connected to a ventilator. So he arrived to Karl Huchner on the 7th, which is Tuesday, and was sent to ICU care from that same day when he arrived. The patient continued to deteriorate, progressive deterioration. He was swabbed at Karl Huchner on Thursday, April 9th. We had a preliminary screening test at around 3 p.m. and so Karl Huchner staff was alerted at that time of what the potential result would have been until we got the confirmatory test.
This particular case is accompanied by some nightmarish circumstances as to the exposure of many persons to the patient before he died. In the result, the overall picture clearly demonstrates the possibility of widespread transmission of the virus.
The first question is, how widespread was transmission at the KHMH?
ICU staff at Karl Huchner did consider this patient to be a potential suspect, as we do with any patient who has had a previous negative sample. So that patient the staff there did use the proper PPEs in that regard.
But that opinion has been condemned as contradictory and misleading by the Hospital Workers Union. They say that, quote, many staff who came in first contact with patient 10 used a mere surgical face mask and gloves at A&E. The same were used at the ICU with a linen gown. Limited N95 masks and surgical gowns were provided to the ICU staff upon the patient's admission. These PPEs are claimed to be held under lock and key due to the fear of wastage by the staff. But whether or not the PPEs were adequate, the KHMH isn't taking any chances, and the hospital has taken the decision to swab and quarantine all staff members who came into direct contact with the patient when he was in an acute state. But before all that, Ministry of Health contact tracing has led them to downtown Belize City, an area of concern where a cluster of infections could have been spawned. It started here at the downtown plaza, where on Saturday, March 14th, there was a party. An unknown number of persons attended, including some with a recent travel history from the US. And then across the street to Brody's, where an immediate relative of patient 10 worked. She has also tested positive. It goes on to Scotiabank Albert Street, where yet another immediate relative worked. All three businesses were shut today. Now, the Ministry of Health is asking that those who were in attendance at that March 14th party call their hotline for instructions on self-isolation and whether or not they should be swabbed. And today, the Director of Health Services had this to say about the party's guest list.
We are tying this particular last cluster to a social activity that involved preliminary data suggests up to 100 people. I don't think we have a full guest list, or we didn't have it. That's the reason why we made a call yesterday. That's where the potential ground zero may have been for that particular cluster. So when you trace back the previous 14 days, then you go to an activity on the 14th of March that had people who had come in from the US, New York, we are now told, and that's where the potential outbreak may have happened.
An outbreak whose dimensions may take weeks to be fully known. Cherise Halsall, 7 News.
But what about the fallout for the country's largest hospital? Union workers at the KHMH say that at the time that patient number 10 was transferred, he arrived with a negative COVID test result. So the union claims he wasn't classified as a person under investigation, which is why the staff at the accident and emergency did not use the appropriate PPEs. Now, the KHMH administration says, quote, use and type of personal protective equipment, PPEs, is based on the patient's diagnosis and the procedure being performed. The assigned staff complied with the use of PPEs based on the information provided at the time of referral and adhered to the standard precautions outlined in the National Infection Prevention and Control Guidelines, end quote. In a press release responding to hospital workers' concerns, the KHMH says, quote, urgent arrangements are being made towards decontamination and closure of the intensive care unit, the ICU. As for Albert Street, Brody's downtown will be closed until next week Monday, and the same for Scotiabank. But they are closed for both are closed for decontamination. But we have more from the hospital's workers' union. They accuse the KHMH of, quote, erring in accepting and transferring the patient to the ICU without following critical care protocols and recently established COVID protocols for patients showing signs of respiratory distress, end quote. The statement says, quote, the KHMHA workers' union hereby demands the immediate and complete closure of the ICU unit and that inpatients be relocated elsewhere for intensive care management. Also, that thorough sanitary and corrective measures be conducted on all units possibly compromised with immediate effect, end quote. Today, via a video call, we spoke with the union's vice president about it.
We know the issue we of patient number 10 being transferred from one institution to Carlushna. The union believe during the process of admission, there were some protocols that was not followed, causing a breach. Later, the patient was placed into the adult ICU rather than in an isolation or containment area until proven or confirmed, cleared or confirmed. And because of that, when the test was done and came back positive, it compromises the service of the ICU as well as compromise the some of the staff in Carlushna that were in direct contact with that patient and family and relatives who were there. Because of that, it being grave concern to the many staff of Carlushna who was at work at the time, and over the days that our fellow colleagues that had direct contact were participating in various activities throughout the hospital, like, for example, going to the cafeteria to eat. Through the chair for the Board of Governors of Carlushna, we managed to set up a meeting with the Prime Minister. It lasted about roughly around 1 hour and a half, where we make our presentation with our concerns to the Prime Minister with the hope of him being could intervene and trying to get the matter resolved. Definitely, when we present our points to the Prime Minister, he found them to be one of great reason. He admit that he would address the issues as much as he can without interfering with the day-to-day business of Carlushna. Another point that we brought forward was that an investigation has to be done in reference to the admission of patient number 10 to Carlushna and later to the ICU. He agreed that the investigation will be done.
The KHMH has since sent out a press release responding to the KHMH union's comments. They're basically saying that you all are overreacting and that there was no breach of protocol and that none of their staff was put at unnecessary risk.
Definitely, if that was so, the Prime Minister may see it necessary for even meet with us. He may see it necessary for an investigation. So for them to trying to cast blame on the union, it's not here nor there. It's kind of applauding that they would even stoop to that level to state that the union has caused the staff to panic and cause fear amongst the staff.
So as you heard in our interview with the Vice President of the KHMH Workers Union, the management of the hospital has responded to several of their criticisms. They summarize a few of the points raised by the union as nothing more than misinformation and an overreaction that is raising unnecessary alarm within the frontline workers at the hospital. They have conceded that they are taking steps at closure and decontamination of the hospital's intensive care unit. Finally, the hospital management's release ended with a few stinging remarks for the union. The management said, quote, "It is regrettable that after measures were taken to engage and fully involve the KHMHA Workers Union, the press release of April 11th of 2020 may have created distrust and panic among KHMHA staff and the general public. Management endeavors to continue engagement with the union and recognize that unity and cooperation with staff are critical during any public health pandemic. We note that the union met with the Prime Minister today." Zooming out of that ugly and protracted dispute, most of us want to know what is the status of COVID-19 in Belize tonight. Well, like we said, there are 18 cases, many of them coming out of 2 clusters in western and central Belize. Today on Ask the Experts, the Director of Health Services commented.
For Belize City, it's one that has identified a total of 5 cases, and there's one in San Ignacio that we have managed to link 2 initial cases that have given us a total of also 5 cases. So that's the 2 clusters that we are actively following. And I say actively because we are anticipating that we can potentially have more persons that could turn out positive from those 2 particular clusters.
As we showed you earlier, one of those clusters have links to downtown Belize City, and tonight 3 establishments at the heart of the city are shut down for decontamination. Now, those are businesses at the heart of the city. And before COVID, every day, hundreds of pedestrians would be in and out of those establishments. So, should they be concerned for their health about possibly coming in contact with the highly infectious COVID-19? We asked Manzanero today.
Is there any advice for persons who visit Downtown Plaza, Brody's Downtown, or Scotiabank Downtown in the past 3 weeks? Nothing specific, because you would have been a casual contact. It's the close contacts that we will routinely go out and look for. If you were a close contact of the persons that have been identified as positive, or you were at the social event on the 14th of March and you are symptomatic, you would need to be swabbed.
Of course, the fact that the party with over 100 persons was held at the upper floor of the downtown diner in the downtown plaza on March 14th means that the coronavirus could have been in Belize from well before our first patient was identified on March 22nd. Today, Manzanero discussed that possibility.
Is it possible that we had a case before the first identified case? Yes, that is possible, and we have said that as well. That is why when I say even 18 cases, I always use the descriptive word confirmed cases, because you could have more that you have not been able to identify as a health system. So that is possible, yes. That we have had community spread for some time as well, there's a possibility, and that's why we said that the reason why we started screening 2 weeks ago for people who had influenza-like illnesses or SARI, which is severe acute respiratory illnesses, is because we tried to capture people who are coming into the health system for some other reason, to try to determine whether you have community spread. That's a possibility, yes, in both Belize City, maybe even in Corozal with the little cluster that you had with patient number 8, and in the Cayo area. That's a possibility. But for now, we have not had an overwhelmed health system where people are getting progressively ill. So that's, if there is any plus in this regard, that's what we are looking for.
And while that is worrying, the news is not all bad. Very sadly, 2 have died from the coronavirus, but most of the persons who have tested positive are not showing symptoms, and some who were hospitalized are improving. Manzanero gave us an update today.
Out of these 18 cases, I can say that 2 are in the hospital. As you know, we have had 2 deaths associated to COVID-19, and 14 are being taken care of at home. Most of these patients are virtually asymptomatic. The majority of these patients, as you would note, were simply captured because we were doing screening in the asymptomatic close contacts. The 2 patients that are hospitalized have progressed fairly good, and the one at Carluccio is being considered for moving out of the intensive care unit sometime this week, up to the data that I have this morning. And the patient from Corozal is also has progressed significantly, no longer requiring IV fluids, so that we may actually be considering whether this patient can be taken care of at home, since it no longer requires any hospital care.
One patient we did ask about was patient 14. She is a close contact of the deceased patient number 4, but she just tested positive this weekend when we suspect she had been tested right after his death. We asked if that was a false negative.
Can you comment on patient 14, a close contact to patient 4? Yes. If she is a close contact, why did her positive test emerge 12 days later? It can happen if she did not have enough viruses being shed when she was initially screened. That could be the reason why, when she became symptomatic and was shedding more viruses, that's when her test became positive. I don't think that was a false negative.
And don't go away, because when we come back, we'll have more news.
Smart is fully prepared for the demands on our network to facilitate those working from home and for customers to continue to communicate with friends and family. With the entire country at home, our team has pushed for more innovative services and promotions like our double data, along with new ways of purchasing mobile services via our app and agents countrywide. Smart is proud to have dedicated staff working from home as well as out in the field to keep communication flowing. Customers can also follow our online fitness, science, comedy and other great segments to continue being active at home. Smart has also sponsored the Ministry of Health free hotline, along with gifting all our frontline medical personnel a prepaid number with $50 credit to stay in contact in these times. Be assured we are with you, and look out for more weekly promotions on SMS, voice and data. Be smart and be safe.
The Social Security Board, in collaboration with the Labor Department, takes this opportunity to remind insured persons of the requirements for compensation when on sick leave. Any employee who has worked with an employer for at least 2 months is entitled to 16 working days of sick leave with full pay every year. This is how it works. Upon approval of a sickness or injury benefit claim by SSB, 80% of the employee's weekly insurable earnings is paid as a Social Security benefit, and the difference in the employee's salary is paid by the employer. This is to ensure that the employee does not suffer any loss of wages when ill. After 16 days, compensation for sick leave is paid as a Social Security benefit only. Some conditions apply. This message is brought to you by the Social Security Board and the Labor Department. Social Security Board, safeguarding you, your family, your future.
We continue to serve you. We continue to keep the lights on. We continue to care.
Ask any landscape professional who they depend on for professional grade power tools, and the answer is always the same. Echo. Ask any dealer who offers the most powerful, most durable, and most reliable equipment in the business, and they'll tell you, Echo. Then ask yourself, doesn't your lawn and garden deserve the professional's choice? Echo. The best outdoor power equipment you can buy.
Digi, your national telecom, would like to assure all Belizeans that we will continue to keep you connected during this challenging time, providing you with high-quality services that you depend upon each day. The resilience and the reliability of both our staff and our networks will ensure that you are able to keep working, learning, and most importantly, communicating with your loved ones at home and abroad. This is what matters most at this time.
Boosting Diginet speeds for free to over 20,000 customers and pledging over $7 million to the COVID-19 Relief Fund by way of $1 million in cash and $6 million in value to our customers is just one of our ways of showing we are here for Belize.
You can depend on Digi. Together, we will get through this challenging time and emerge even stronger. Stay safe, Belize.
I am Ronald, lineman lead hand at BL. We are an essential service and we are doing everything we can to make sure that we keep the lights on for our customers.
I work outdoors and my job is to provide safe and reliable power.
Our teams continue to serve communities across Belize.
Just go.
Tonight on News 5 Live, another execution-style murder in the city. A man with a long rap sheet is murdered in broad.
Time out. Many times it may seem easier to ignore your child whereabouts or who he hangs out with. This can have a tragic consequence. Take a time out and suggest positive activities to keep your children out of trouble. Rashid, you know I don't like to hang out in the crowd. It's dark and it get late. Why me I not go make some banana bread together?
Okay, ma. Ma can invite Marcus over to play some games?
Sure, why not?
Three police officers have been charged for coercing a couple into having sex and then recording it. On Friday, April 10, 2020, police formally arrested and charged Jason Shaw, 46-year-old Belizean Corporal of Police of Orange Walk District, Leslie Martinez, 38-year-old Belizean Police Constable of a Belize City address, and Anthony Villamil, 20-year-old Belizean Police Constable of San Roman Village, Orange Walk District, for the crime of willful oppression. On Tuesday, April 14th of 2020, all three officers were arraigned in the Belize City Magistrates Court, where they pled not guilty and were granted bail in the sum of $1,000 and the surety of the same amount. The case was adjourned to Tuesday, July 14th of 2020. It comes from an incident 1 week ago on Tuesday, April 7th, when a 45-year-old Belizean laborer of a Belize City address reported that at about 6 a.m. on Sunday, April 5th of 2020, he was on Central American Boulevard in an abandoned building with a female companion. Whilst in the building, three police officers in uniform entered the building. One of the officers had a phone in his hand, asked him if he was having sex with his companion, and allegedly told him to finish. The male reported that he went behind his female companion and pretended to have sexual intercourse with her. There was a fatal traffic accident during the Easter holiday weekend that has claimed the life of a Corozal resident. He has been identified to us as 40-year-old Cristobal Cano, a villager from Concepcion, Corozal. Police say that on Holy Saturday, they visited an area between miles 74 and 75 on the Philip Golson Highway. When they arrived, they found a red Milium motorcycle on the shoulder of the road. Its front portion was extensively damaged. The officers also found a man, later identified as Cano, on the pavement with severe injuries to the face and body. Initial investigation indicates that Cano was traveling on his motorcycle and he was heading to his home village. While on the way, he somehow lost control of the motorbike and fell face down. The cops believe that the speed at which he was going before the spill caused him to slide about 50 feet on the road's pavement. He passed away at the KHMH on Easter Sunday at around 8 a.m. But while those men were charged for their heinous crime, there is a dead body found in the west. And at 1:45 p.m., Roaring Creek police discovered the body of 70-year-old Salvadoran national Pedro Fuentes. Fuentes left for work yesterday afternoon, but by nightfall, when he hadn't returned home, a search party was organized to locate him. That search ended this afternoon when Fuentes was found robbed, dead, and in a partially decomposed state at his place of work, the Valley of Peace dump site. His body was transported to the medical college for a post-mortem examination. Foul play is suspected. So we've brought you extensive coverage of the thousands of Belizeans who lost their jobs in the collapsed tourism industry. But the tourism industry isn't the only part of the country's economy that continues to be hard hit by the virus and, well, the state of emergency, which the Barrow government activated to contain the local spread of the virus. The nation's food security may be at risk. That was the news delivered today by the chairman of Quality Poultry, one of the nation's biggest poultry producing companies. He was discussing the issue with Creme TV's Evan Moshyde in a new YouTube web series called Talk to Me. In it, the Quality Poultry chairman discussed how the pandemic is affecting the Mennonite communities of Spanish Lookout and their agro production. He said the national lockdown has caused Belizeans to buy 50% less poultry than normal. As a result, producers have an unexpected surplus, and in about 2 weeks' time, they will run out of storage space for all that extra chicken. Here's what Alan Reimer told Mose in an extended interview.
Poultry being a Belizean favorite that everybody eats every day, but when it's on your plate, it's there and it's your basic and we're used to it. But what you don't see is what happens behind the scenes. That what it requires to bring that that piece of poultry to your plate. We are currently working on the 2022 projections of what Belize will consume in 2022. We are today ordering the breeder stock for those eggs and baby chicks. So the current production was guessed or estimated in 2018. So now nobody at that time ever thought about COVID-19 would come around. Now there is with this lockdown, there has now a major shift in the nationwide consumption of poultry. It seems like the people in lockdown, they don't eat poultry anymore. So the sales have dropped drastically, in some instances to below 50% of what we're used to. So that is the first major challenge that we're having, where we have to really cull down a lot of breeder stock, a lot of poultry products have to be moved one way or the other, and we don't know what's going to be post-COVID 2019. That's going to be as interesting as this is right now. For storage, that is precisely the issue. We haven't run out of storage yet, but we are still producing way more than is being consumed. So we will be running out of storage in the near future unless we find more temporary storage. We are concerned, but we will do our best. But as the economy will open up again and as consumption will increase, remember, we will have a lot of frozen chicken. So it's not that the food supply is in short supply, but we know Belizeans want fresh chicken. There might, just be a time when they will have to do with the frozen chicken for a while until we, ramp up production again. But we cannot take any more risk right now. We cannot take, ramp up production in hopes that it will, because the losses that we've sustained now are major, and we cannot expose ourselves to more risks.
Reimer said that poultry producers would be willing to sell that surplus chicken to the government for some sort of relief program to needy families. But even if government doesn't step up, at least for a time, the price of chicken will drop. Starting tomorrow, you'll be able to flag down quality poultry trucks for one to get some deals. And this afternoon, via video call, Cherise Halsall spoke to Quality Poultry's general manager, Raymond Barkman, about how his company is freeing up storage space while helping to get food to the struggling public.
Here is where, in a crisis like this that is so fast and so unheard of, what we are currently doing is, as I think you all heard the show on crime this morning, probably, or most of you, about how we control the eggs at the hatcheries, we minimize that and so forth. And here is a good part on the consumer part. Of course, we pass it on to our Belizean people, which obviously is at a very big expense for us and at a loss for us. But we happily do it for that sake to make sure that we can keep going and get over this as fast as possible.
In terms of chicken, how is it that you're going to begin to do that distribution to be able to help people who need it and help yourself?
Well, so this is actually, if you would have probably, I don't know, if you would check our Facebook page, we just threw this one out there just 3 minutes before I went on air with you here. We put this ad on Facebook. So what we're actually doing right now, starting tomorrow, and there's two important key factors here that I want to mention. We will be giving our regular whole chicken for buy 2, get 1 free, right? So if you buy 2 chickens, you will get 1 free. If you buy 4 chickens, you will get 2 free, right? Now here's where we want to avoid a we don't necessarily want a big crowd to come to our store. So where we're going way off the normal is we're doing this retail promotion on all the delivery trucks, because we have a lot of delivery trucks all across the country in villages. So to make it a little easier for everyone out there not to come to our branch, so we can practice the social distancing a bit better, we decided to this one on all the trucks as well. So they can literally stop it. If they see a quality poultry truck, they can literally stop it and say, look, we'll pass this savings on to you from our truck.
Let's talk a little bit about how difficult that is financially to be able to offer something like this.
No, it's huge. And honestly, at this moment, we are just turning a blind eye. We just have to figure out how to get this under control. And we just believe that when we're through this, we will somehow be able to figure out something how we can get this back. But right now, we're just doing what we have to and not trying to feel the pain that obviously this financial burden will be. And we'll see. Hopefully, the banks will be loyal to us as well, and we'll figure this out. I don't know what to say for encouragement, but I do believe we Belizeans we will make it through somehow. We will make it better out on the other end somehow. Not sure how, but we'll get there.
In an interview with Alan Reimer, it was also revealed that the local cattle industry is also at risk. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused the informal cross-border trade of cattle between Belize's farmers, Guatemala and Mexico to be put on an indefinite hiatus. Now, this trade was through the back, so to speak, but it was well established and flourishing, and now it's stopped and causing, well, another crisis. Here's what Reimer had to say about that.
The records show that Belize only consumes about 33% of the production in cattle. That's over the last couple of years. 60 to 70% of the cattle is being moved out, mostly to Guatemala and some to Mexico. And then with that, with that back door being closed, as it is as we speak, the pressure on the beef is increasing rapidly. And then we're coming out of a very dry year that we had last year. We had some rain, but we're heading into a dry season again as we speak. There is no more grazing. There's no more feed available, and whatever feed there is at a very high cost. So the farmers are at a very grim crossroad, deciding what to do next with their cattle. Do we move it cheap, or do we buy expensive feed to keep it a little longer in hopes that the prices will increase? But indeed, if we cannot move cattle out, we will be in a dire situation very soon.
In the same way that the poultry producers are faced with a surplus of chicken that isn't selling on the local market, dairy producers from Spanish Lookout have also had to throw away milk that Belizeans aren't buying in the same quantities. Here's what Reimer had to say about the huge financial losses to dairy producers.
The dairy production in milk is in the same situation. It's basically all the fresh produce that we have in chicken, beef, milk. Anything that has a very short shelf life has been affected drastically. I hear that milk sales are down, and also a full 50%. They have resorted to making a lot of that milk into cheese, but so does the cheese stock. It goes up dramatically because they kept the cheese market basically full prior to this. So the cheese market cannot absorb a flow of a lot more cheese unless we Belizeans will choose to buy the Belizean product, because there's still a lot of cheese being imported as we speak. In the meantime, the milk is being dumped. There's a lot of milk is being dumped because there's no market for it.
According to Reimer, dairy producers from Spanish Lookout have considered entering production to extend the shelf life of their milk products. The problem is, it requires expensive equipment that only one local company may have access to in Belize. that transition is not an easy or quick one, and it does not help the dairy producers with the problem that they are facing right now. And while that is the politics of food, which is paramount in a time like this, the regular blue and red politics are also at play right now. PUP leader John Briseno, who agreed to co-chair the National COVID-19 Task Force, isn't happy. This weekend, he took to the air with a major statement explaining his frustration. First of all, with the refusal of test kits sent to the Central American region by South Korea through Kabe. And here's how he puts it.
We learned that from March 12th, SICA had offered to Belize no less than 25,000 testing kits, but our Ministry of Health refused. Now the government is scrambling to see if it can get those tests because what we have in stock now is very limited. Second, due to the lack of available tests, testing procedures and testing itself by Ministry of Health through its central medical lab has been grossly insufficient, and there is no community spread of the virus, at least in Belize District and in Cayo District.
But there are kits on the way as well, thousands of them. Prime Minister Dean Barrow called up the Premier of the Cayman Islands, Alden McLachlan, to inquire if Belize can purchase at cost COVID-19 test kits from that island, which recently brought 200,000 test kits from South Korea. That's way more than they need for a population of 65,000, so Cayman is helping out friendly nations by selling them at cost. Also, the Cayman kits are compatible with Belize's PRC test processing machines. Now, that will be in addition to the stockpile of tests which Belize currently has. Manzanero outlined those today at Ask the Experts.
How many testing kits are in country? We have from the Roche batch 4 kits of 96, 8 kits of 96 confirmatory tests, and PAHO has sent to us last week 2,500 reactions. Reactions are kits that are being validated today for use in country. 4,000 kits from Roche are pending to come in. Testing individual tests, and 11,500 reactions from PAHO. So even if you do on average 100 tests per day, it's going to take you a good amount of weeks before we run out of that, and of course we are stocking out on more.
And while the tests should be coming through, some supplies have been stopped by supply chains, which are now being commandeered by developed countries, mainly the USA. Manzanero discussed that today.
Additional ventilators have arrived. 8 have arrived. 6 were deployed to Carlucia. 2 are here at the warehouse here in Banmapan for deployment wherever they are needed. We are aware that the U.S. has put up place policy restricts exportation of PPEs and items needed to combat COVID-19. Has this affected us in any way? Yes, there was a delay in the ventilators getting here, and that is causing a further delay in further ventilators getting here. Just before I came here, I'm being told that some masks that were initially due to come here, there might be a delay in terms of when they actually get here. So we're looking at avenues of where we can reroute items that will be coming routinely through the US so that they can get here in.
We'll take a break now. After the break, you heard how the union is not happy with the KHMH. Well, the Medical and Dental Association is not happy with government. You'll hear why. Don't go away.
Digi, your national telecom, would like to assure all Belizeans that we will continue to keep you connected during this challenging time, providing you with high-quality services that you depend upon each day. The resilience and the reliability of both our staff and our networks will ensure that you are able to keep working, learning, and most importantly, communicating with your loved ones at home and abroad. This is what matters most at this time.
boosting Diginet speeds for free to over 20,000 customers and pledging over $7 million to the COVID-19 relief fund by way of $1 million in cash and $6 million in value to our customers is just one of our ways of showing we are here for Belize.
You can depend on Digi. Together, we will get through this challenging time and emerge even stronger. Stay safe, Belize.
Confused? Overwhelmed? Stay in the know with COVID-19 Watch. Weekdays at 9:30 a.m. and 2 p.m. on Channel 7 and also on Facebook at Colorblind Multimedia Productions, 7 News Belize and DigiBelize. Stay informed, stay vigilant, stay healthy.
Save my friend, the credit union is around the bend. If you want to save my friend, the credit union is around the bend. Save, 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 the credit union way. Save, 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 it will make you rich someday. To save my friend, the credit union is around the bend. If you want to save my friend, the credit union is around the bend. Save, 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 the credit union way. Save, 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 it will make you rich someday. Save, 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 the credit union way. Save, 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 it will make you rich someday. Save, 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 the credit union way. Save, 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 it will make you rich someday. Save, 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 the credit union way. Save, 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 it will make you rich someday. Lisa, Mona Lisa, men have never.
On Easter Sunday, Kurzweil police had to respond to the discovery of a live hand grenade that was left in an abandoned lot. At around 3 that evening, the cops received a call from a concerned citizen of Mango Street in the Santa Rita area. He found a black oval-shaped metal object wedged in a tree. Well, it looked like a grenade, so he called the cops. They responded, confirmed the discovery, and called in the BDF explosive experts to retrieve it. The BDF team arrived, safely retrieved the grenade and transported it to an uninhabited area. It was damaged, and the explosive experts were of the opinion that it would detonate if they tried to travel with it back to their headquarters. So, they triggered the grenade to safely explode without incident. The Belize Medical and Dental Association is speaking out about their COVID-19 concerns, mainly that they've been granted no say in decision-making surrounding the pandemic. They say they have tried to speak up and have been victimized because of it. That claim is coming after their representative claims he was locked out of a virtual task force meeting on April 8th. Now, the doctors and dentists are claiming that everything is micromanaged by a small group of individuals, and they declare that the leaders of this country do not appreciate constructive criticism. The president didn't want to speak to us today, but the DHS says he has no dispute with the BMDA president, Dr. Jose Miguel.
We had a very candid discussion on Wednesday morning with Dr. Miguel, and I gave him my assurance that as far as I know, nobody was going to be blocking any BMDA member from participating in the discussions we have. And as far as I know, my desk has never blocked any BMDA member in terms of their notes or guidance or information that they are willing to share with us. So how that came about, I can't voice an opinion other than that. I think we have an open channel of discussion with the BMDA executive, and Dr. Miguel knows very well how he can reach me in that regard.
The BMDA ended its press release by reassuring doctors as well as the public that they are on the public's side fighting for us and our safety. So as you've seen tonight, there's been a whole lot of news related to the death of patient number 10 and the appearance of 9 more positive COVID cases over the long Easter weekend. And when the patient died early on Good Friday morning, that is, it caused not only grief for his family and concern verging on panic in the community, it also forced government to declare a national lockdown. The rule is that every district would go under the same rules as the Cayo district, which was found to have community spread last week.
The maximum extent practicable, we must restrict movement and put a lid on contact. In other words, the time has now come to take the ultimate step for which we have been preparing. I therefore, after consultation with the National Oversight Committee, announce that starting from tomorrow at 8 p.m., the entire country of Belize will be placed under quarantine. This will last for 14 days in the first instance, but may of course be extended. What we put in place at the time of the Cayo quarantine will now apply countrywide. Accordingly, throughout the nation, we will be strictly confined to the following activities: procuring food and medicine, fuel, and finance. Thus, grocery shops and pharmacies will be open during reduced hours. Fuel stations will also operate during reduced hours, and banks, credit unions, and other lending institutions only from 8 a.m. to noon. Naturally, public bus transportation will cease across the land. We are acutely aware of the additional havoc to be wreaked on the economy by this national quarantine. Preserving health and saving lives are the priority, however. We can and will later resurrect the economy, but what we are doing now to protect our people cannot wait a moment longer.
And if you noticed, that message from the PM which he delivered on Good Friday, it was done in his home with a cell phone. Well, that's because he was also under quarantine due to patient 10. Here's the explanation.
I am recording this message from home because my family and I are in isolation. It has turned out that a police officer assigned to our home is a nephew of the deceased. We are not sure if he had recent contact with his uncle, but until his test results come back, Isolation is the safest course for all individuals living and working at my residence.
The police officer has since tested negative for COVID-19, and this, along with the fact that he was not at the March 14 party, seems to have brought the executive quarantine to an end by Sunday. And the PM will have to come out of quarantine to deal with the leader of the opposition, which says his party is unhappy with the way things are going on the National Task Force.
We are dissatisfied with many decisions, as we do not believe that our suggestions, based on advice of experts, are being taken seriously at these levels of the process. We have heard the Prime Minister's address to the nation a short while ago. We agree with the decision on the national lockdown. However, we feel it is just not enough. When I accepted to co-chair the Oversight Committee on this crisis, it was in the genuine interest of bipartisan support for the country's management of this national challenge. It is becoming more evident that politics is finding its way into the decisions of the government, and this cannot be supported.
And while the leader of the opposition listed many things that he feels are wrong with the COVID response, one of them is the politicized distribution of food relief.
Many Belizeans cannot afford basic food items at this time. Disturbingly, food distribution is being politicized by and through political arms of the UDP, using unnecessary middlemen, while completely ignoring the advice of the opposition and disregarding the farmers' plight in the process. That is unacceptable. For some time now, we have been advocating for a process to be put in place for distribution of food in a non-political manner to those most in need. We believe the Belize Red Cross and the Belize Defense Force are capable of carrying out a food distribution program free from political interference.
And in other news, outspoken activist Jose Luis Espat was charged this weekend with spreading false information. On Saturday, Espat posted on his Facebook page, Jose Luis Espat, saying, quote, "I was some days ago sent a message by a BDF soldier but had not gotten confirmation. Today, another BDF soldier contacted me and confirmed that there was allegedly an initial soldier infected with COVID-19 and then later a further 18 soldiers that were suspected of having COVID-19. He goes on to say that the initial soldier suspected of COVID-19 died and that 18 more was on isolation. Police say the post was reshared and reposted by many, causing public alarm and leading to Espat's arrest. Espat later posted in response to his arrest saying, quote, "Whenever anyone is charged for false news, it is something they don't want known publicly. Wise up. They want people to think we are malicious and lied. But you all know better. We will fight to the very end." It looks like he's yet to learn his lesson. And that's all we have for you for tonight. Thanks for watching. With your news, I'm Indira Craig. Remember that to watch our streaming video of this newscast at 7newsbelize.com. And remember to keep yourself and others safe. Stay at home and maintain your safety and hygienic practices. Social distancing of at least 3 feet. Washing hands for 20 seconds. Using hand sanitizer or just soap and water and not touching your face. Stay healthy, stay safe, stay alert, but also stay calm, don't panic. Make sure to join me back here tomorrow at 6 p.m. Curfew starts at 8, so please stay indoors. Have a good night.